As I've been talking recently about communism and socialism with different people, a couple of people have asked a question around Acts 2, saying, isn't this idealized form of society one that advocates for socialism and communism? So I want to talk about that. This is specifically Acts 2, verses 41 through 47. So if you haven't read it, please read it. I'm not going to read it here as a part of this video. I'm going to talk through it. I think there's three questions we need to answer. The first question is this model of society available to everyone? And the short answer there, I believe, is no. This model, and it describes it right inside the text, is specifically created around people that are devoted to the apostles' teachings. These are people that are pursuing Christ and his teachings, his example, and trying to live in that world. So I think that is a fundamental characteristic that describes why the society is working. So question two would be, is there clear biblical evidence that this is an idealized society, that this is the way we should go? And again, I don't think so. My short answer is no. Certainly, there are a number of Bible verses and Bible stories that talk about egalitarian societies, particularly when something critical happens, there will be egalitarian means. People will be generally equal as they're rebuilding. But for every story where there is an egalitarian society, there is another story that talks about how those who have much will be given more, those who have nothing or less everything will be taken. There's also stories around proper sacrifice and aligning yourselves towards the greatest good. And then through the spirit of adventure, following your conscience and following the call to adventure, you will be given much, you will be rewarded much, both in this life as well as your descendants. And this happens over and over. We see all sorts of different parables and stories and biblical stories around this. So no, I don't think that the Bible is consistent that an egalitarian society is the ideal form of society. Luke may have been alluding to it in this particular letter that he was writing, but that doesn't necessarily mean the Bible is trying to tell us that is the idealized form of society across the board. So question three, regardless of that, wouldn't it still be a better form of society? And again, I would say no. Not that seeing this wouldn't be great, but it's not the form of society that matters. I think this is a result of people living in the proper way. And so the result is an egalitarian society. It's not the goal. The goal wasn't to create an egalitarian society. The goal was to reach Christ. The outcome was an egalitarian society. And one of the things that's critical in the story, and it calls it out explicitly, is that the followers were selling their possessions of their own volition. There wasn't someone in charge taking everything and then selling it. It wasn't redistribution of wealth that was centralized. Everyone sold what they had and lived communally. It was a choice. It was voluntarism. It was not coercion, and nothing about Jesus's teachings is about coercion and force. If you have coercion and force with selling your possessions, that's called theft. Thou shalt not steal. It's one of the 10 commandments. So again, I don't believe that the Bible tells us this consistently, that this would be an idealized form of society. If anything, I think this form of society is a reflection of proper living, not a form that we should follow. So in conclusion, I would say that modeling society after Acts 2 is largely like a cargo cult. So if you're not familiar with the term cargo cult, it basically came about after World War II when certain tribes would see these planes land on runways and provide cargo, supplies, and food. And so what these tribes would do is they would build these dirt runways with a wooden plane and worship it in hopes that they would get cargo, they would get supplies. And basically that is trying to pray to the form of something without understanding the actual how and why behind the scenes. And I would argue the same thing's happening here. If you're believing that Acts 2 is a model, what you're failing to realize is it's not the model that's important. It's the underlying virtue and the move towards Christ that's what's most important. And I think what comes out of that society is an idealized form. So the idealized form of society is a result, not the goal in and of itself. So what could we do? Is there a way that we could pursue this? And I think there is. So basically 3 steps. Step 1, accept Christ into your heart and pursue his teachings. If you don't do that, I don't think this form of society is even possible. I don't think it would ever work. I think it would always fall apart. So that's step 1. Step 2, surround yourself with like-minded individuals, people that are also pursuing that. earnestly, not just in name, but people that are actually pursuing that. And then step 3, be your brother's keeper. Take care of each other as needed, which may mean selling some of your possessions to take care of each other. If you do those 3 things, if you can truly live that way, I think you will naturally create the society that's being talked about in Acts 2. But short of that, I don't think that following the form of what Luke describes makes any kind of sense. And I think the danger really starts to apply when you start thinking about socialism and communism, which are about A, the destruction of religion, and B, coercion of shared property, of communally owned property. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was enlightful. Let me know if you see things differently. I'd love to hear from you. Keep bringing awesome to the people.